Well, folks, we are back. Browns fans, excited to be here with another edition of Brownie Breakdowns. I know it's been a little while. Schedules weren't aligning, so I apologize that we sort of had a little bit of a hiatus there. But the wild card loss certainly calls for us to get the gang back together, if you will, get the band back together and dissect a little bit of what happened in that game on Saturday. And Anthony, I got to tell you, man, like I think I'm still sitting here now, 3-4 days removed from that outcome, and I'm still sort of shocked that it happened the way it did. Like I went into it understanding, okay, the Browns could definitely lose this game, but I didn't think it would be the way that they lost, getting blown out and just completely outmatched pretty much from start to finish. It was weird. It was bizarre. Didn't see it coming. I don't know that the Browns saw it coming, and there's certainly some themes that we will get to here coming up, but. Obviously, first and foremost, we appreciate you guys jumping on in with us, whether it be at the Browns Digest YouTube page or on the Browns Digest Twitter account. And as always, you can follow along at brownsdigest.com. But Anthony, first off, man, how you doing? And what was your reaction, I guess, to just Saturday night and how everything kind of played out?
Yeah, doing great. It was so nice that Dallas got whooped on Sunday because it made pretty much everyone forget about the butt whooping that we took because 45-14 and the most frustrating part was, and I was telling you this yesterday, watching the tape, I was getting mad watching it because the final score is not indicative of what happened in that football game. The Browns were in it. The Browns, for the most part of the game, like for the first couple minutes, first couple quarters, were playing better football. They just couldn't get away from the big play. And it's something that, kind of haunted them all season long. And I think that, Houston took advantage of a lot of things that other teams did early on in the year to kind of get after this Browns defense. And truthfully, the better team won on Sunday. It just was really frustrating watching it happen and just seeing kind of the magic kind of run out of the tube for Cleveland after such an incredible season. It just ended in such a bummer of a way. Well, that it was hard to digest.
You're definitely right about the Cowboys, by the way. That led heavy on Monday and Tuesday, and probably on Wednesday they'll still be talking about it because everyone's wondering if Mike McCarthy's going to get fired now. Yeah. That's certainly covered up for the whatever it was that we watched on Saturday, that travesty we watched on Saturday. But yeah, you mentioned just things from earlier in the year getting exploited. I think we saw that. I also think for the first time really in a while, we saw the injuries actually catch up with this team. Offensive line was an issue. Defense was relatively at their healthiest, but there's some guys who were probably playing a little bit banged up, and you expect that this time of year, of course. But you were kind of getting guys back and hoping to even get healthier if they'd advance with, Grant Delpit potentially coming back in the next week or so. But at least on the offensive side, you saw some injuries that seemed to be an issue, seemed to hinder this group. And they'd overcome those all year. I mean, it was the theme of the season, right? One game at a time, go 1-0, just find a way to win. And finally, it kind of bit them in the butt and caught up with them a little bit against a team that when you get into the playoffs, it's the margin for error is so much smaller because all these teams are all pretty good or very good. And that sort of came to fruition and the cream rose to the top, if you will, and that was the Texans.
Yeah, for as amazing of a season that we had, and every week we would come in here or we would get on whatever show after the game and be like, I can't believe this team's winning with how injured they are. Yeah. It was so evident that we were playing with backups that, you got to speak with Juan Thornhill directly on Monday or whatever day it was, Sunday.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I was on the field, so injuries aren't an excuse, but I mean, he could hardly move on the field. Amari Cooper was very clearly injured, so it was like really hard to watch because it was like, this team poured their hearts out all year long and finally got to week 19 and just kind of ran out of juice. And it stunk to watch, but we'll see. You'll see some of the stuff we're talking about here as we dive into it.
Well, and I'll let you get set up off the injury front too. I just want to mention as well because we saw with the Browns being so banged up, the Texans actually got healthier kind of at the right time because they didn't have Will Anderson Jr. first time around. They obviously didn't have CJ Stroud and Jonathan Greenard, he got injured in that first matchup, left the game. He was back healthy. So it was kind of just two teams and going opposite directions in terms of the injury on the injury front. And like we said, I think the Browns kind of got exploited in that way. But I'll hand it off to you here. Start us off early in this game. And early on, Anthony, the Browns obviously did some things pretty well, especially offensively, but then things kind of spiraled out of control as the defense just couldn't get off the field.
No question. And think back to the Christmas Eve, right? First play of the game, we take a monster shot to Amari Cooper. Look how much different you'll see that, and you'll see this throughout the game. The Houston defense, I thought their defense had a great game plan, and I thought their offense had a masterful game plan. And the defense was really simple for them. It was allowed, just like you said, Will Anderson Jr. and Jonathan Greener to get after the quarterback. Okay, those two guys there. And then everybody else, just keep the Browns in front of you. If you eliminate the big play from the Browns offense, they're going to have to force them to string plays together and force Joe Flacco to consciously not turn the football over, which they've proven that they were unable to do all year long. So you'll get a sense here. They motion Elijah Moore, which we all thought this was going to be Elijah Moore game, right? And we got deep routes here. Okay, look, you got Amari Cooper running this little curl route, and then you're trying to get Elijah on something right here, but again, they just drop back. The emphasis: don't let anybody get beat deep. They cover up everything down low, up top. Flacco does a really nice job checking down to Jerome Ford. We get a really good gain on it, and I love the start, actually. I love this. This is great. Don't force it. Take your completion on offense. But you can see the theme on defense, and you'll see it a number of times where Houston's like, don't get beat deep. That's our one rule today. Do not give up the big play.
Houston's very much a zone defense team. They don't play a lot of man. There was a lot of talk leading up to the game about how hard is it for a team that they asked Amari Cooper about, I know, in the locker room, like how hard is it for a team to change what they do in terms of their identity and the way they're going to defend you. And he said it's probably pretty hard. But they stuck with what they did, but they just found a way to really emphasize, listen, if we get beat with them dinking and dunking, fine, we'll live with it. But they were basically like, we're not going to let Amari Cooper do what he did to us the first time around and go for 265.
No question about it. And that's really what it was, man. That's really what it was. So we then go to this play here, and this is going to show you kind of what it was like in the run game. And this was what it was like on Christmas Eve. We couldn't run the football, at 31 carries for 55 yards. This game, kind of the same story, but this is second down after the first down. So we got second and long here. But just look at the attack by this Texans defense. These linebackers are playing downhill. Once they know it's run, boom, they're just all in the backfield. And even if this gets blocked up by Joel Bitonio, if Joel picks this up here, it's still, we're dead here. They're pursuing hard on, they're beating David Njoku. You got James Hudson here getting pushed back. There's really nothing you can do there. And on that big play, you lose 6 yards on second down, setting up, right? What's the biggest thing? Stay out of third and long. I say it every game. I say it every week. If you stay out of third and long, you got a chance. But now you're in third and long, and then this is what happens. Watch Will Anderson Jr. right here, rookie, potentially in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Could be potentially, and just beats James Hudson like a drum, throws him right back into Flacco's face, and forces a check down, right? That is the formula. Keep everything underneath of them, stop the run, and then get after them on third and long.
And I think that play almost, we didn't know at the time it was a sign of things to come, but we were almost all waiting for James Hudson, the shoe to drop on James Hudson. There's no disrespect to James Hudson. For his role, he did a bang-up job. He's a fourth or fifth tackle on this team. He's not supposed to be out there game after game after game starting for you. So it was what it was. It was what you had. But we've seen James Hudson enough times in games to kind of understand if he gets a good pass rusher against him, he's going to struggle. He's going to get pushed backwards. And I think, again, it was the injuries kind of coming into play and coming into fruition right in front of our eyes.
No question. He's getting beat pretty badly, and you said it perfectly. When was this going to happen? And we've been waiting on it, and he was great all year, but just happened today. Yeah. But Spence, look what I was saying, right? Here's the first down marker. Okay, this is a good example of what Houston was trying to do. You got this guy's 40 yards away from the football, right? He's don't get beat deep. Don't get beat deep. Don't get beat deep. It's like, hey, if they get the first down with these guys, great, but we're not giving up a 70-yard touchdown and letting you guys spark one and have a huge play. We're just not going to do it. So it's that's the theme that you'll see from them. So, okay, you kind of thought this might be the case. Browns get it. They punt it away. And, just these two teams trying to feel each other out. The problem is when Houston had the football, we were kind of waiting for the big play because the big plays kind of haunted Cleveland all year. And CJ Stroud and this offense have the ability to go big plays all game long.
They were one of the top teams. They still are, I guess, one of the top teams this year in terms of explosive plays. They've hit on maybe on the most. They're at least top 2 if they're not 1. I forget the number off the top of my head, but that has been certainly part of their game is just hitting on explosive plays.
And I start with this play. This is their first play of the game. This is just an easy play. This came up last night. I was watching the Manning cast. I don't know if you're a Monday Night Manning cast guy or not. I
sometimes flip between them. I didn't have it on last night, but I've watched it throughout the season.
When they get goofy guests on, I always switch it away. But they had Bruce Arians and Ray Lewis on, so it was just football talk for 4 straight hours, which was great. But this play is starting to come up more and more, where you get this like extended, it's like an extended screen where you use like a tight end or like a fullback to get them into the flat. And then you throw it to your running back behind it, but it allows you to have some kind of an option over here. So a lot of times you start your eyes there, some kind of a slant or a hitch. If you like it, you take it. If not, you get off of it right away. And now look, you have like a screen where you got a blocker here for one, and then you just throw an easy completion out. I just like the play. It's just one that I wanted to point out. Peyton Manning was talking about it last night, and I was like, oh, first play that the Texans ran was one that the Eagles ran a bunch yesterday. But just a nice play, easy start for C.J. Stroud. Because then you go back to Spencer, the one guy who can beat us. We talked about it on Monday. You and I did. There's one guy in the field you have to account for, and it's number 12. It's Nico Collins. Like, this dude is obviously, now we know he's a game changer, but we got to see it firsthand. But he's been a game changer all year long. How are we going to stop him? Well, you got Denzel Ward on him in straight man-to-man coverage. And I mean, I don't care who you are. That's a really hard route to cover with a guy who's 6'4" and can run like a deer. I mean, Denzel didn't have a chance, and you're one-on-one with the guy who's big, that's Mr. Big Play for the Texans. Like, it's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, this was part of the theme that we talked about, is these crossing routes, guys going over the middle, guys sort of causing traffic in the middle of the field as their routes intersect. There was a lot of that throughout the game, and this was maybe the first example of that, where you saw Nico Collins just straight up run away from Denzel Ward. It's nothing on Denzel. Like, I think he's trying to play it as best he can. He's just trailing the guy. But you're right. Like, he has help over the top, but just kind of an easy pitch and catch, a good play design, and an easy pitch and catch to kind of beat that man defense. Yeah,
it's really tough. And one of the things too, we talked themes earlier. There's 2 themes when Houston has the football. This isn't a good example, but they kept CJ protected for the most part. There's a couple hits that he takes, and a lot of them are add-on blitzes. But like, this is rare. Seeing Za'Darius have a look at it. But also too, Bobby Slowick, the coordinator for Houston,
he was brilliant.
Truthfully took advantage of Jim Schwartz's stubbornness. Like, honest to God, like that's what you want to call it. Like, he's been stubborn in the aggressive man all year, and it's worked. But he didn't get out of it all game long. And when you have that and you don't really switch it up, like, if you put Denzel Ward on, he's your best cover guy. He's one of the best guys in the league. Sometimes these receivers are just too darn good, too darn big and fast, for you to stop it. And you're going to see this, kind of throughout the entire game. So,
and it's funny that became a theme, because like I mentioned, that question to Amari about how hard is it for a defense to switch how they do things. And it kind of ended up applying to the Browns in this case. Like, their identity was one thing, and it got them there, so they were going to stick with it. And you're right. On one hand, I get that. I understand why you would do that. Like, you're going to stick with what got you there. You're going to stick with what your strength is. And for these corners and the secondary, playing man is their strength. But at the same time, you need to have – it feels like you need to sometimes have something else up your sleeve just in case, something isn't working, like something you can throw or something you can change to if need be.
No question. And it's like, how does that, why did he stick in it? And we'll get to it later.
And I do want to say too, like, there's no easy answer to that, because CJ has been really good against zone defenses this year anyway. So I'm not saying
bad and really bad against man defense.
Right. So I understand on some level, like, why you're sticking with what you're doing, but in this specific game, it wasn't working. I don't know if it's more just like disguising your looks. I don't know if it's blitzing less and dropping more guys. I don't know. Listen, I'm not a defense coordinator. I'm not going to pretend on this show that I have all the answers and I know everything. But it just seemed like he didn't get out of what they do. And then because of that, it like, you were just getting torched up and down, and there was just nothing else that you even want that you even wanted to try. So again, I don't have all the answers, but you would have liked to see some variation of what they like to do to try to at least slow down CJ Stroud a little bit more, because they were just absolutely torching you on the crossing routes and all these different things and the motion. And it wasn't pretty.
It wasn't great. And then they would do stuff like this. I think this is really sweet, where a lot of times, like, you get CJ, this is like a semi roll. Not really. He uses the pressure for this, but this one goes to the tight end here. And he's going to come up and he's going to get on the toes of Juan Thornhill. And then he's going to break out to the sidelines. Like, Browns get away with one here, because watch this. He gets up there. And this is one where it's super evident that Juan was hurt. Like, watch him just try to chase. Like, he's got no speed at all. Like, no speed there. And it's like, he's battling this calf and he's trying to put on for the team and like be out there. But, he just gets cooked by a tight end, and that could have been a massive chunk play. That Houston just misses on because it's a drop. But man, it was a tough deal, because this is an awesome play by CJ.
And this looked like it was cover 3 too, because you had Denzel dropping, you had MJ dropping, you had Juan sort of playing that deep middle, and then he came up to play the tight end because he sort of stepped in front of him. So
kind of attached to him after they get to a certain yardage, right? And obviously too, you can see through it. He, with his vision, right, Spence, he can see through to the quarterback, so he knows, like, once he starts rolling like this, like, hey, I can attach because all of this is dead over here. But I think you're right. Those guys open up. You got the zone cover here. You got zone covers down here. So it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But it's just like, man, Juan was a little banged up, and they had some really nice concepts going. So one thing that really just frankly pissed me off all year was the offside stuff. And we're going to get one here. It's third down. Okay. So it's third here, 3rd and 7-ish, 3rd and 8, right? First down markers at the 49. Cleveland's 49 here. And I don't even think Miles jumps here. You can see him. He's at the top of your screen. He definitely flinches. He probably does get in, but it's like, boom, just like that, right? It's an incomplete pass. Okay. Incomplete. But again, we jump off sides. Like, how many times did we do this all year long? And Schwartz even talked about it. Like, hey, it comes with the territory, but holy cow, when I was 4 years old, like, I wasn't allowed to move until the ball moved. Like, your coaches would scream, yell, everything, hut, 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 and you don't move until the ball moves. Like, it's really hard. And I would never, Myles Garrett's 9 million times the football player that, I ever was. But like, it's just like, dang, like, can we not jump off sides? Because yes, they don't get the first down on this, but you never know how this impacts the game. Like, that's great. That's a huge stop, on the first drive. And then, you jump off sides unnecessarily and you give them an extra play. So then here you go. You got 3rd and short after that. And then Cleveland does make a nice little stop here, right? Oh, not a nice little stop. This could have been sweet. After I say all that, it almost led to a pick, because Juan, while I said he looked a little injured, he owes Denzel Ward owes him like a steak dinner, because Denzel just steals one from him. And it's like, oh man, this is like when, like, holy cow, we don't have a chance today, because like Juan plays it perfectly. Denzel's in great position. Denzel almost picks it off, but instead they bounce into each other and the ball bounces up in the air. It's like, oh my gosh, because truthfully, it's a huge momentum play, but look where you get the ball. Even if Juan catches it here, right? You get it on the 38. Okay. Look where you get it instead, at the 11.
Yeah.
Like
flipping the field,
right
flipping the field. Yeah.
Right,
I mean, this is this is where you wonder about specific plays in a game. And like there's the cliche at the end. I had a rant a couple weeks ago about it was after the Cowboys Lions game, right, where the refs messed something up and it clearly cost the team the game. I'm of the belief, like, there are 1 or 2 plays that can cost you the game. But of course, the cliche coach answer is like, well, it wasn't that specific play that cost the game. There was things earlier on. And yeah, there's some truth to that. And that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of football, is like a play like that. Maybe if you pick that off, it becomes a momentum swing for your defense and your team, versus, doesn't go your way. And then the Texans are able to get a stop now because they flipped the field on you. And then that sets them up with a lot of the momentum. So it's just interesting how that stuff happens and how it plays out. But you can certainly look back to a couple plays here or there and feel like, yeah, that could have changed the game, or that would have changed the game. So it's interesting.
And Spence, even compound that a little bit more, right? CJ Stroud is a rookie quarterback, okay? First drive of his NFL playoff career, he throws a pick. Like, how does that impact? Yeah. Obviously, he's been nothing short of amazing all year long, but how does that impact a rookie who's never been there, right? And he throws a pick. He doesn't throw picks all year long, and he throws a pick on the first drive. And it's like, okay, Now we're in his head. We're rolling. Like, how does this impact the game? And it's like, and no one's at fault here, but it's just like, oh, it's one of those plays in football where you're like, man, if this could have went different, how does this switch the game?
Yeah.
And then you parlay that into this, right? You're backed up. And we've been one of the best screen teams in football all year long. But watch the bottom of the screen here. This is, again, one of those like, dang, wish you could have had something else up. Because if they just had a concept up on the bottom of your screen, watch this. They catch them in a blitz. It's 3-on-2 right now. Like, dump this down. Yes, it's a tight end. Maybe he gets 10 yards. Maybe he gets 15 or 20. But, it's like, holy cow. Like, this is one where it's like, you got a great play here, but you also catch them in a blitz. So if he catches this screen, Spencer, look at this. Look at this play.
Yeah,
like,
there's so much room.
Oh, my goodness. And it's like, again, Flacco had to double pump. But if he puts this right between the 2 and the 7, does Kareem make a juke move, off of
well, that's the thing, too. Like, even if he even completed the screen, you feel pretty good about the idea that he's going to gain a good chunk of yardage here and at least get the first down because there's only 2 guys there. He cuts that back to the middle. He's got some room to run.
Yeah, he does, man. It's like, oh my gosh, right? And this is second down. So we ran it on first, got to 2nd and 7, and you're like, holy cow, this is a massive play. Like, this could have been a massive game-changing type of play. And instead, it's an incomplete pass. And then again, Spencer, what is it? We're not getting beat deep. Look, Stingley, I'm not getting beat deep. I'm not getting beat deep. Nobody here is deep.
They got a whole shell.
Yeah, a whole shell. And then Garon Christensen getting kind of thrown back into Flacco's face. We check it down. They rally. They tackle. Like, this right there, those 2 plays are like, man, those could have been huge, game. That screen could have been a massive game-changing play. Instead, you punt it. You have a bad punt, and here we go. Like, bad punt, and they got ball in plus territory.
I'm going to be honest, like, the way that Bojorquez punted, I think that was a testament to this just wasn't your day. Like Stefanski had the quote, we picked the worst day to have our worst day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really was almost the best way to describe it because, like, Bojorquez has been great all year. He's a Pro Bowl alternate, all these different things, and he didn't even have a good game. So I think it really was a testament to just everything came to a head at once on the worst possible day that it could all come to a head. It's unfortunate.
I mean, I watched Corey Bojorquez in Cleveland Browns Stadium punt a ball 80 yards, and he's in a dome in Houston, and it was like struggling all game long. And you're like, holy man. But what I will say, as kind of been negative to this point, this dude right here, like, if there's one guy who
he showed up
so much, deserves a contract, and this guy you want in Cleveland for as long as possible, it's this guy, because this is a great back view of one of his plays. Look, we're using motion. He stands there, boom, makes a nice tackle right in the backfield. It's just like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a guy you build a team and a defense around. And as long as you got Myles Garrett up front, you got number 6 at the second level, as this guy's an elite difference maker type of a guy.
We've talked a lot about Jim Schwartz and the stubbornness of the game plan in this game and how it cost him, but there's a lot of positives to take away from his defense this year as well. One of them is that not having to think and being able to just kind of play freely has opened up and really freed somebody like JOK, he had a great year and he had a great game on Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we go after that nice play by JOK, you get into 3rd and 6. Okay, Spence, we'll run this out so you can see the first down marker at the snap. All right, here's the first down marker right here. Okay. It's the 35-yard line. All right. I will not speak down on Greg Newsome. He didn't play great. He had some questionable post-game comments, said he thought he played pretty well. Said
according to him, he played well. And
then he told all of Twitter that we don't know what football is or how to watch it. So I won't say anything too bad on him. But what I do know is that when you need to get 7 yards, jumping a slant isn't really the best option or route of attack there. So we jumped the slant on Nico Collins. And then for one time, man, where CJ stood under the gun and needed to just make a play under pressure, JOK's bearing down on him, takes a big hit, and Nico Collins is able to switch his route, turn his back to the football, and still make an acrobatic catch because we're nowhere close. Just a tough look on 3rd and 6, man. Huge play, 3rd and 6, and give up a monster shot.
This is where this is where film study gets hard without being on the team. I want to put that out there immediately because I don't think you pretend either, Megs, to know everything and what everybody's job is on any given play. We're not in that huddle, so we don't know. But like you're watching this play, you got one safety who's playing deep. We see that on the screen here, obviously. And to me, is that Thornhill, I think?
So Thornhill's here.
Okay, so that's Hickman.
Yep, that's Hickman.
So to me, like Hickman makes the right call. He's like, okay, unless his job is like, hey, we want to bracket Nico Collins all game, so make sure you go where Nico is. But he's reading this play, and before the cut, like this is the guy who's coming into his zone. He's making a deep play on the downfield, like you got to cover him, and that maybe exposes Collins to being able to be open because he obviously beat Greg off the ball and on the slant route that he tried to jump. So like I don't want to pretend to know like whose job is what, but to your point, like he jumps the slant and then he gets beat on the back end. I don't know if he was counting on Hickman to be there, maybe, and that's why he maybe feels like it wasn't my fault or I did play well or whatever. I'm not going to pretend to know. But I can understand, too, why, somebody watching this or as we break this down here on this specific play, it clearly looks like it's a miscue from Newsome when you're trying to prevent them from getting a third or picking up the yardage here. So about 7 yards to get to the stick. So, again, I don't want to dole out blame on this show necessarily, but I understand where the confusion kind of comes from. And if he wants to say that we don't know what we're talking about and people don't know how to study football or whatever, fine, I get it. And we'll never know what he knows. But, It like somebody messed up. Like somebody made an error for a number of times in this game. We're going to see others too. It wasn't just like, well, I did my job. Like somebody had to mess up along the way, whether it was you specifically, ex-player, I'm not saying Greg, or somebody else. So it's hard to assess those things, but at some point something didn't go right because there was a bunch of plays where guys just streaking wide open, making plays.
You're so right. And I thought they played it well too. Like CJ's looking this way. Juan's reading his eyes about the jump. Ronnie jumps this way because he's following his eyes. And it's like, man, even if they make him hold on to the football like a millisecond longer, it's not this. Like, look how close that was.
Yeah.
Just one of those tough plays. But you say all that, and then the nice part about this team is they're resilient as hell, and they continue to fight, man. It's 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. All right, this is a big set. We talked about the Browns are the worst goal-to-go defense in all of the NFL. And in the playoffs, turning 7-point opportunities into 3-point plays is massive. So what do? 1st down. Houston gets really sneaky with it. And Jordan Elliott, oh my goodness, does he almost get a gift? Like what could we have done to just put that right between the 9 and the 6, and he catches that thing and is, he's not scoring, but at least it's a turnover there. It's like, it's so close. He makes such an awesome play. Such an awesome play.
Another one that could have been a game-changing play, 100%.
Look how close we are. Inches, man. Inches. And then we go, MJ, awesome. All right, here we go. They're going to try to use CJ Stroud as a runner. It's not going to work because MJ Emerson, while there's a couple that you want him to have back, this play right here is amazing. He fights off a block and then tackles CJ Stroud at the 2-yard line. So
didn't let him get outside. That was good.
Nope, it's so good. All right, sets up 3rd and goal. Who are we going to attack? All right, Greg Newsome. We're going to attack Greg Newsome. They're calling him our best shot. Look at this great play. Greg Newsome versus Robert Woods, right? Bobby Trees has played in a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl. He's been everywhere. He's been great. And Greg Newsome gets the best of him here. Like that, you talk about going from the outhouse to the penthouse, man. Like he gets burnt, but doesn't stick in his mind and comes back and makes an incredible play on 3rd down. And this is huge, dude. This is like, this sequence here changes the momentum of the football game. It's like, all right, the Browns are here to play. This is different. This defense showing up. Now we're going.
That moment felt like the defense was starting to settle in like they normally did. So it was unfortunate that it spirals from here. But it was a good stop to hold him to 3.
And look at that. Okay, here we go. We're just stringing 4. This is now 4 straight plays. Okay, take out the special team stuff. So you have that great stop. You force them to 3. And then the Browns come out and just do this. This is amazing, okay? If you're going to cover Chief one-on-one, we're just going to run him right up the seam, okay? This is awesome. Oh, I'm getting too excited. All right, so this is a great route here, okay? So, right, if you guys are going to defend our receivers and not let anybody get beat deep, We're going to take David Njoku.
Yeah, clearly shading towards Amari. You can see that.
Yeah, look at this. Here's your one high safety. You got a corner on our one of our best players. Chief's just going to lean on him and get up the field. We called this a prick route. I'd like to show this to my tight end, Mark Banowitz. I missed him on a touchdown way back in the day, and he never lets me hear the end of it. But here you go. He leans on him and then gets vertical, and perfect throw, perfect catch, great start. All right, here come the Browns. Now we're rolling. All right, Houston has the worst defense against play action pass. All right, here we go. We're just going to play action them. Okay, again, Spencer, what? We're not getting beat deep. Okay, they're not getting beat deep. All right, we'll take the Chief. 2 straight. Now we get an 8-yard completion to Njoku. And now you're going. Okay, this is now 6 straight plays. Like this is consistent, back to back plays. Now watch this. We all saw this. Everyone's heart in Cleveland stopped after this play because this was the end of Amari Cooper's day. But again, play action pass, the bootleg. This is just really funny to me because every other quarterback in the world besides Joe Flacco is running right now is like, I'm just going to run. Instead, Joe Flacco's like, no, I'm going to throw it to number 2 here and rips a rocket right to Amari Cooper and sets up 1st and goal. But the problem is Amari stays on the ground, right, and starts grabbing that heel again. And, then he becomes hurt. He becomes hurt all day, which stunk. But it was one of those things. Here we go. Spencer, how many times have we gotten into Wildcat? Think back to the Broncos game when we first saw this, where we get into this formation and then we snap it. And you
think Joe Flacco had to check with the ref to make sure he was off the ball in this play?
Yeah, look at him. I think
you're 5 yards off.
I don't know what he's doing here. Maybe a thumbs up. You know what I'm sure it was? In practice, they probably ran it and Kareem snapped it too quick. He goes, look at Joe, give the thumbs up when he's set. And now we go. But how many times, Spence, remember Kareem gets it, goes this way, the quarterback comes in motion, and they do a bunch of that stuff. Instead, we just go, boom, straight up the middle. Like our tendency was always to come back towards that motion and do like that flip stuff or fake it that way. This time we just run it straight up the gut to Kareem Hunt. It's awesome. Awesome little wrinkle. He got really good. Kevin got really good with that Wildcat formation when he needed to.
It was a weapon.
And then this is 3rd down. Remember, our 2nd down was when we threw it to Harrison Bryant and he got tackled on the 1-yard line, and then give it to Kareem Hunt to finish that thing off. Amazing. Just a good drive. Kareem Hunt, we'll get to it in a second here. But yardage wise, not his greatest year.
No.
It's with 11 touchdowns.
The guy, he gets lost in the shuffle because the Flacco story was so good, but he was like similar sort of story, right? Like off the couch. It was earlier in the season, so it wasn't as daunting. But to have him come back and provide such a spark, I also just think from like a locker room standpoint, like he was a great fit on this team. Can't say enough about the spark and the effort that Kareem Hunt gave to this team this year. And he's definitely he's like a heart and soul guy who part of the reason why the team got to 11-6.
And it sucks. The end of the year is the worst because like the chances he comes back are very slim. He doesn't have much juice left in him. Yeah, he had 11 touchdowns. A lot of
you're faced with the reality with those, especially on locker room cleanout day.
Yeah.
Of like a guy like Anthony Walker might not be back. A guy like Kareem Hunt might not be back. There's others. I mean, the list of free agents they have is very, very long. So
and that picture of him walking out with his 2 trash bags and he was wearing his white helmet on top of his head. And then the quote when he was like, I'm hopeful. He said something along the lines.
It was he's like, my main goal will always be for the Browns to win a Super Bowl. Yes. And then he sort of said, I mean, shoot, I'll probably be at the parade, even if I'm playing somewhere else. So Cleveland guy through and through. So.
You love it. So you love him, and we'll get to him. He's not quite done yet, but just awesome guy for the Browns. All right, pin and pull. Okay, we've watched this. Me and you have watched this clip 9 million times this year, where it's the same formation. You just line up 2 receivers right here. Use one of them to block down on the defensive end because we're too aggressive coming up the field. Pull your tackle around, pull your wide receiver around, and you got business. You got a lot of room here with a lot of blockers. This is one that hurt Cleveland all year long, and this was inches away from being like, this is an incredible tackle by Juan Thornhill, but this is a foot away from being a 75-yard touchdown to start the drive. but it doesn't matter because CJ starts rolling here. As good as the Browns' last drive was, here comes Houston right on back. So here's your zone look, Spence. We talked about this. You had mentioned how the Browns try to switch it up just a little bit. You get some form of cover 3 where Denzel's back, he's back. Greg actually rolls into the flat, and you're something like this here and here and here. Okay, you're something along those lines. Well, the one thing with zone is that every guy's eyes are on the quarterback. Okay, look, Greg's this way, Taki here, Denzel, eyes on the quarterback, eyes on the quarterback. Well, when that's the case, this would be one where Greg's like, hey, this is how you play zone coverage. Everyone's got their eyes in on the quarterback. Well, guys just kind of get lost in the shuffle sometimes. And it's a really nice play. I think it's John Mechie up the sidelines. Maybe not John Mechie, but
no, I think it was actually. I think you're right.
Yeah, and he just feels it. Okay, and just going to use his, use his instinct, use his feel, head up the sidelines. And CJ Stroud, unbelievably accurate. Just every throw he made, was kind of right on the money. And you use that zone against him, and he gets up the sidelines and makes a makes a really nice play.
Crazy throw.
All right, here comes the jet motions, and we actually do a great job here. We get a reverse. Browns are in really good position. JOK almost has it. They love using this Beck guy, almost like he reminds me of like Kyle Juszczyk, how the 49ers use him, just always in the right blocking spots and using him because he's super athletic. But JOK reads it, but gets blocked. The bummer here is MJ Emerson. Like, we're good. Like right here, Spencer, you're good. Now, they call this a vice tackle. MJ, you take his outside. JOK, you take his inside, and both get him. Instead, MJ kind of goes a little too far up the field, and Nico's able to get him to turn his hips. Now, what I will say, Nico Collins with a full head of steam, I think he's like 6'4". I'm not tackling that, so hand up there. That's a scary proposition, but that's one of those where you just got to just slow him up or chop him down because you're in great position, and you end up getting, I don't know why it's skipping there, but you end up getting about a 6-yard gain or a 4-yard gain there. So it's like, good position, but not the result you wanted. They still got a plus play there. All right. Here we go. We're in man coverage everywhere. Okay. You got JOK locked on the tight end here. Jordan, he'll come back to haunt us in a little bit. But this one is Bobby Slowick, just masterpiece, right? This is just beautiful. We're going to use motion to clear this side out. We're going to fake action this way and then set up a screen here to get this guy out into the blocking scheme and to get this guy out here. Watch how playing man-to-man coverage and just using a simple motion. Look, here they go. They go away from it. We fake the run. Okay, fake pitch. Look, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 9 out of the 11 guys flowing to the offense's right. CJ just puts his foot in the ground, and we are 3 on 1.5. And Nico Collins wins that 12 times out of 10. Just great. This is a great concept. I mean, this is a sweet concept, and it's a really good answer and a great time to call the play. I mean, you draw it up. Like CJ Stroud gets the credit, doesn't have to do anything other than split the 1 and the 2 and let Nico Collins just go.
One thing I noticed is that the two guys on the end of the line there, the tight end goes in motion, right? So it's it's Tunsil and then the guard. They even flow to the right.
Yep.
Like they take some steps towards the right, and then they just are like, all right, and then they just free and like cut back the other way.
Look at this picture, dude. That's just a great concept. That's Bobby Slowick. That's great.
A lot of ground to cover for the safety.
Yep.
And MJ's just kind of in no man's land. He's got to try to avoid the block. Like, you didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, if I just said I was scared of Nico Collins running at me, imagine Laramie Tunsil, dude, like 6'8", full head of steam. Yeah, losing that battle 100 out of 100 times. All right, we've talked about this concept. This is so good. I thought up until they're not quite done yet, but the Browns, I thought Kevin and AVP also had an equally good game plan. We've just dropped back. Like we couldn't run the football. You're just dropping back. So you got to be really, really sneaky with some of your stuff here. So this is 3 tight ends. Okay. So you got to think of this. We're in 13 personnel. So 1 back and 3 tight ends. Yeah. Why they are able to do that is because your 3 tight ends are pretty darn good. And so that puts Houston in their base packages. Okay. So they only got linebackers, not a lot of corners out there. So we've seen this before where they run this concept and they beat this concept to death. Okay. It's called spot, where you get a flat route by number 1, you get number 2 on a corner, and you get number 3 on this hook route. They call it the spot route. Okay, easy read. But the one thing we're going to do, Browns have run this 3 or 4 times a week. Okay, this is a huge, huge tendency for them. Okay, boom, it looks just like it, right, Spence? Instead of going on the corner, right? Even the safety's flowing this way. Instead of going on the corner, Harrison Bryant, we're going to go post, and we're off to the races. Like, this is so good. This is a tendency.
So it seems like he had an option there then.
Okay, this is another good one where it's like, hey, I don't know how it's taught.
Yeah.
Potentially, this could be an option route. The way this is looking, like, he's very decisive. Maybe he knew it, maybe he didn't. But it looks like potentially he either had an option or it was just a straight post. And because everyone was on the same page there. So, I
like that.
It could be either way, but it's the same. It's the same concept we've seen a billion times. Instead of running that corner, they run that post, and it's a great answer.
Yeah, it's a great play.
And you know what I'm saying? Play. Okay, right now, it's 10-7. Okay, we're at the end of the first quarter. It's the last play of the first quarter. It's 10-7, and we just hit a 50-yard play. Okay, so now you're on top of the red zone. And then I love this. This made me laugh. It's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2-ish, and we just go QB sneak. I mean, that's very funny to me. 6'6" guy. Hey, we're going to go quarterback sneak there.
Okay. Not quite the tush push, but yeah.
Yeah, not quite the tush push, but when you're a massive human being like Joe Flacco, it could always work. So, all right, Browns this is, again, really good adjustment this week by the Houston defense, just being very sound in what they're doing, okay? The Browns are trying to get away with the fast one, okay? They're going to use this. A lot of times Cleveland flows against their play action. So the play action is going to the right side. A lot of times we see him come out and we have, a crosser coming into the window. You get something like this, something like this. We've seen this a bunch. Well, instead, they're going to use David Bell here as a blocker and then kind of run him on the sneaky route. Very similar, Spencer, to the Packers game when the Jordan Love threw that touchdown to their tight end where he was just standing by himself. And Baker threw a good one last night in Tampa. Very similar, where you see David Bell here kind of get lost in the sauce. And then, in theory, he's supposed to be just wide open, right? He's supposed to be just cut open. But Derek Stingley does a really good job of being very, very headsy, very disciplined.
He passes off Amari, yeah.
You see him pointing, hey, you're in, or something, whatever the call is. And then he peels off, and then you get Petrie here falling off and seeing this. And it's like, all right, we get a nice completion. But they drew this up. This is one where you draw up and you're like, this is a touchdown. Very similar to that screen we just looked at. You're thinking Cleveland had this one circled as like, this is a touchdown play. And Houston just D'd it up pretty good. So what do we do in response? Kareem's 11th touchdown of the season. This is awesome. This is a really good play. Simple, easy. We're just going to use Kareem on an extended screen. Posick, awesome job here. Very nice. Just little flip play. Give it to 2-7. Hopefully not, but maybe his last touchdown as a Cleveland Brown. Like, man, just loved him for the last couple of years, man. He's been awesome for this team.
That's our title card for this episode.
Yep.
Picture him diving in.
Picture. Yep.
There you go.
All right, Spencer. 17.
It all went downhill from there.
Yeah, right. There we go. We got 14. We're up 14-10. Okay, you ready for 35?
Honestly, that's one of the craziest things about the final score is the fact that at one point the Browns two times the Browns led this game.
Yes.
And they lost 45-14. Unreal.
45-14. And you're like, all right, what did we say in the last one? That, the defense felt like they were starting to feel themselves and kind of just settle in. Browns take the lead, and you're like, all right, let's just shut the door. Like, don't give them any faith. I got up to fill up my plate with pretzels. And before I got back, we were losing again because MJ, man, he's been so good all year. So good all year.
This play was disappointing. The angles, the pursuit, the effort by, I think, MJ and some others. JOK talked about this on Sunday. He was kind of asked, like, were you supposed to stay with him? And he kind of admitted, like, yeah, I am. But, we also needed to make tackles there, too.
Yeah.
I don't think he was trying to throw anybody under the bus. I think he just said, like, he was kind of just saying, like, as a team, we need to tackle better. But, yeah, like, theoretically, he was my guy, and I tried to be a little too aggressive. So, there's a number of things because doesn't he goes after Stroud, right? Isn't that – yeah, he kind of attacks downhill at Stroud. And that leaves the tight end open. So,
you take a picture, a screenshot of this, and you're like, all right, which guy in the field scores the touchdown? It's not this guy is your last one on your bingo card, right? Like he's definitely not going. And here's JOK. He adds on right now. And you got two guys, and they're both right now like, oh man, at least we'll tackle.
They both disengaged. That's the problem. Like,
and it's like, oh, and then you're like, Obo, go get him, and then just burns him to the edge. At least Denzel's hustling, trying, but 75 yards. Are you kidding me? Tough answer, right? So now it's when it started to feel like a track meet, which was right now. It's like this. I don't know if we have the dudes for this because, you can only scheme up so much. And like we said, Houston's big thing all game was don't let Cleveland hit the big play. Like just don't let them hit the big play.
That one felt like a backbreaker because it was like if the defense could just get sort of settled, then you make this a game. Could be back and forth. But yeah, like I just like given all the injuries and stuff, this Browns offense wasn't built for a shootout. Like that's not what they were going to be able to do. And it basically became that. And, wheels fell off because the defense that had carried you all season long just wasn't there like it had been most of the season.
And you get into that. Cleveland would be really good. Cleveland's a really good team to play from the lead. Okay. You get into that lead and you can start, just grinding out first downs. Okay. Using screenplays. But like you said, when you get into chase mode, Browns aren't built for this. We start getting a little cute here. I'm not a huge fan of this call, but it almost works. And again, right. Okay. You're not beating us deep. We're in good position. Take the underneath stuff. Houston gets away with one here. This was certainly PI. They don't call it. That would have been a big play.
People were mad about this the next day, and I was like, guys, it probably was PI, but am I really gonna get all bent out of shape about a PI when the final score is 45-14? Like if it was a one-score game, I hear you, but it was 45-14, guys. Like, give me a break.
And Spence, one of the big things on the last time we played was, we were busting them deep and these guys were running. So like, this is Marquise Goodwin. He's our speed demon. Like they were planning, and this is like kind of one of those schemed up things where it's like, hey, they're planning on these guys running with the deep ball, both of them. And then having this be a similar drop off to think about when we beat Jacksonville and he was on, David had those two huge catches. Like this is very similar to that. Or maybe it was Chicago. It was Chicago where he had that big catch up the sidelines, kind of a similar idea, but they're very disciplined. D'Amico Ryans is an unbelievable coach, and this defense was ready. All right. So now you're backed up, right? This is 3rd down and 15. Okay. This is bad for the Browns where we're at. And now these tackles start to be an issue. Okay. We're going to look at the top of our screen. And this is just, one of those tough ones.
Not even blitzing. I mean, that was like, we talk all the time. Like, see, it's sort of like the dumbest analysis, but also the correct analysis. Like if you can get pressure on the quarterback, you have a good chance of winning the game. If you can get pressure without blitzing, it's even better because you got guys dropping into coverage. And it felt like, I don't remember specifically every sack in this game, but it felt like a lot of the time they were getting pressure. It was just with their front 4 guys. Like it wasn't like they did anything crazy. There was a few times where the blitzes got there and made some things harder, but it just felt like even with their front 4, they were there, which again, just goes back to the offensive line injuries caught up with them. Joe Bitonio got hurt at one point. His absence, I think, and he came back and tried to play, but he clearly wasn't feeling good. It was just like a comedy of injuries, and it all came to a head, like I said.
And this one hurts because I shouldn't even say it because you don't know how this affects the coverage. But Marquise Goodwin here, normally this route is this where he runs through and then Amari comes back. We've hit it a billion times. Watch Marquise Goodwin, instead of going forward, runs a corner and he's aiming this way. If he's attached there and we're standing up in the pocket, maybe like you see him this late reaction, but this means that he was attached to Amari. Like we got one there and it's like, oh my goodness.
You'd imagine Flacco would see something like that, but
maybe does, probably a touchdown. We're probably winning the game, but here we go.
Dare to dream.
Let's watch 2 straight plays of Jeremiah Owusu saying, I'm sick of these big plays. It almost was like that last touchdown it was like he said, this is my fault and I'm not letting it happen again because this is 1st down off of the punt. Okay. I mean, dude's a missile. He's a heat-seeking missile. This play actually, go way back to 2018, Spence. Cleveland Browns versus the Carolina Panthers. Jarvis Landry right here against Luke Kuechly on the end zone, in the end zone. Right there. We handed it to Jarvis. He went like 90 yards, almost scored. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox there, but there is JOK, sees it, reads it, boom, right in the backfield. Amazing play. And now he's in it. He's feeling himself. Very next play, we got JOK ... They're going to try to run a screen here. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is on the horn of the Texan, and this ball's caught on the numbers. He didn't even get a yard. It's a minus.
We can't say enough about him. We're running out of words to describe him, but I'll put it like this: the player you thought you were getting when you drafted him in the second round a couple years ago, he showed that this year. He's rangy. Mm-hmm. He can play sideline to sideline when he's feeling comfortable with like what his fit is, where he has to be. He just attacks, and it's a fun thing to watch. That was like the one positive you could take away from the defense in this game was him.
He's so fast. All right, so then we got him in 3rd and 15. Okay, as I've said, the Browns could have potentially won the football game. They could have also lost maybe by 50 instead of by 30 because there was 2 of these types of plays where it's 3rd and 15. There is no reason that this is the picture right now. No reason at all. Ronnie Hickman, as good as he's been all year, they really picked on him in this game, and this was another one. This wasn't even like, it's very clear to me that this wasn't even like a possibility. Like Nico Collins at this point, and this is why it's incomplete, is just jogging. Like he's not even running full speed because he's like, hey, I'm just a clear out route. Like I'm just going to jog. And CJ's like, dude, we have a 60-yard touchdown, and it's like, oh man, because Ronnie's got flat feet there. What do I say? Yeah. If he's even, he's leaving. All right. So
and they're playing cover 2 here. That's evident to me. Everyone's in zone, and like,
yep. Flat, he's gonna tackle.
That one looks straight up like a miscommunication to me. He must have thought Denzel had him. Like because there's nobody else there. He's clearly trying to break on that crosser.
In my opinion, Spence, this is one where, and again,
or does he think he's going? Or does he think Stroud's going to this check down out here on the right, and he's trying to break on the ball?
I think
you think he's going to the cross? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I think
he tries to play the crossing route, which doesn't make sense. There's a linebacker right in front of there. Like there's somebody there already.
Oh. Like think back to that first drive when I stopped the clip. It was Browns were 3rd and 13, and their safety was like, if the ball was here, their safety was like right here. Like we're not going to get beat deep. This is one of them where it's like, hey, just don't, wherever 12's at, just stay 5 yards behind.
Yeah.
Get so lucky on this one. Cleveland they miss one and they punt it back to us. But again, here we are. We're backed up, way deep in our own territory. And this is the last drive of the half. So I really like this. Run that little trap action where you get that pulling guard to Petonio coming across, actually Michael Dunn, and then, get a really nice gain on 1st down and then come back. Oh, you come back with this one. This is funny. This is a good one. You've seen it on Twitter a billion times. Like rolls out, everything's covered up. Good job by Dave. And he tucks it to run. And then
oh yeah. The helicopter. It was the John Elway helicopter off of Flacco's back.
Helicopters. You forget while Flacco just kind of stands around, you forget he's 6'6", like 270 pounds. Like he's a huge dude, and this cornerback goes and learned a lot of that right there. So he kind of took the brunt of this hit. As yes, Flacco is kind of getting down, and truthfully, it's my opinion wasn't illegal. Like I know everyone's kind of belly aching about it, but whatever. Big hit. He was spinning around. I was laughing. This one we can skip through because we just threw it out to David. I thought it was a really good catch, but again, here's the problem, right? It came up. It was our tackles.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. We went on a 3-step drop. We caught the snap 1, 2, 3, and you're not going to do anything doing that. It's tough, man.
It's a hard rewatch.
Your hat's off to them all year long, but in the biggest point of the season, just unable to get anything done. All right, Texans get the football back. What's killed us all year? Jet sweeps. Boom. There's another one. Man coverage versus jet sweeps. We'll take 9 yards on.
I know you're not a defensive, like you weren't a defensive guy. You were a quarterback, but what's the What's the solution for stopping that for people sort of at home watching this? Like, what do you scheme up defensively or change defensively to stop those plays or at least recognize them better? Is it simply just that? Is it simply just recognizing them better?
Yeah, no, it's literally it's that. It's, hey, they hid this, okay? Because this is the motion guy right here. But the problem is we saw it against the Bears when Alex Wright made that play on third down where he stopped it, right? When you're in this aggressive coverage, you're the only guy who can stop it is one of your defensive ends and or linebacker. Like both of these guys have to be on it. And Za'Darius kind of gets sucked down because you got a wham block coming. Truthfully, Spencer, this should be a massive play because Denzel's in man coverage. Thankfully, he's at depth and he can see this. But what you teach here as a wide receiver is you take 2 for 1. So this guy's in man. He's going to follow you everywhere you go. And then you just take 2 blockers to the party and you block one guy and you end up blocking 2. Thankfully, Denzel's got eyes to it. But, this could have been an even bigger play. But you get in this aggressive defense, like this is one way to beat it because it stresses out the defensive lineman and the linebacker. Like I think JOK is in a bad spot here as well as Za'Darius.
I think he was clearly reading the running back because he steps to his right and then the play comes the other way, obviously. So yeah, just unfortunate.
All right, here you go. Here comes your pin down blocks. Pin down. Miles is getting in there, causing havoc. Problem here is Greg Newsome's now the edge defender. And when you're the contained defender, like you got to think the way you think of it is like on the edge, nothing gets outside of me ever. You see him come inside like this. Like when he does that, Dameon Pierce gets the edge and gets to the outside. Yeah. Now it's not a huge play. I think it's a good recovery. He gets about 7 yards, but this is just one of those clips where it's like, hey, when everyone gets washed down, when Miles gets washed down like this, you become the new edge defender and like just keep it inside. You keep it inside and you're in better shape there. But gets outside. And now the Texans are starting to roll here. This is we're getting close to right before half. This one here I want to just watch. Again, this is when I thought of injuries. Like if this is Grant Delpit, this picture looks a lot differently. Like this is Deron Harmon, 12-year vet, and just looks a touch slow. Just looks like he catches it here and just like unhitch the trailer, my man. But 3-time Super Bowl champ, obviously he's had a great career. Just like right now in this photo, in this clip, looks a bit slow, unable to get to Nico.
Well, and that's a guy who wouldn't really be playing for you if not for injuries and things.
If that's Grant Delpit, right? My thought was if this is Grant Delpit, no, this looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a tackle here. Maybe it's Spence. Maybe it's a tackle there. It's not maybe a tackle for a loss, but maybe it's a tackle right there. Instead, it is to the 40-ish, something down there. All right, JOK, here we go. Boom. Okay, they get a massive play. This is now 2nd down. Okay, got a little gain on first, but JOK, I'm going to put a stop to all this. Comes in, makes that really great TFL. He's hyped. He's jacked up. All right, and then what does this look like, Spence? This looks like punt formation, all right? This is very clearly straight man-to-man coverage, right? You're one, you're here. These guys are locked up. These guys are locked up. And now you're just looking to get pressure. Well, Cleveland gets pressure. JOK's coming. All right, he gets there. Does a nice job, but you can't see it from here. Obviously, we're 40, we're 12 stories up, but we get a holding call here, whether that's right or wrong.
Yeah, it was a tight call. It was tight.
Tight call. You're going to get those. When you play this aggressive type of coverage, you're going to get stuff like that. And you get a holding call. That was the call. And then they come back. So now you got first down. You got first down, 1st and 10. It wasn't a PI. It was holding. So here comes that pin and pull again. This is how you stop it. This is awesome, right? This play's killed us all year long. But when JOK just decides to end it, he flies through it. Would have loved him to make the tackle, but does a really nice job of stopping the flow and forcing it back. All of these plays, we haven't set a score. It's 24, or it is 17-10 right now, or 17-14 right now. So you're down 3. You're still in it. We haven't played well, and you're still in the football game. All right. Now, unreal call. I love this. We're going to pick on Ronnie Hickman. I hate this as a Browns fan. I absolutely love this design. So, all right, right now, you and I have watched the Browns do this. We watched it a little bit ago, them do this. This is a standard, bootleg, okay? Call it levels, all right? So you have one guy at the short level, one guy at the medium, and then this is the normal route, something along those lines. Okay, instead, We fake that. Just run till he turns his hips. He turns his hips, foot in the ground, and just a gorgeous play call. Like this is, you got to call a spade, man. This is a beautiful play call. This is so good. Just a tendency breaker. Houston runs this a lot. Normally they're giving them to him in the flat, but we have a big shot called up and perfect execution. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's a beautiful play. Slowick was in his back.
He was balling. All right, now we're at the end of the half, okay? Amari Cooper, let's get it going. You haven't heard his name in a while. He's so good at running curl routes. Does a great job. He's very clearly banged up, just even watching him run this route. Like, he's not 100%. Like, he's slow off the ball. Like, just Spence, what am I talking about? Look at this. You're not beating the steep. You're not. I don't care. Take that. Fine. I know it's the end of the half, but they've been doing this all game long. All right, we're going back to Coop. Maybe a PI here, maybe not. They don't call it. But again, this is one where it's like, hey, you could have thrown it to Njoku. You got to know situation here. The clock's running down, so anything in the middle was dead. We had used a couple timeouts, so you wanted to attack the sidelines. And Coop, without his vertical ability being hurt, he's running that comeback. Thought we maybe could have got PI. So now we got whatever down it is, but end of the half, and we'll just watch the bottom of our screen. James Hudson, like, not even a chance.
Cooked. Unfortunately.
And it's just, you take a sack, and yeah, there's the end of the half. They took it into half, and like that was it, right? That was kind of it for Cleveland. So they come out. Houston gets the ball coming out of half. Really good here. I thought this was good by Greg. They're using motion.
They needed this. Like, they get a stop, and it was like, okay.
You come out, you're down 10, right, Spencer? Like, you're still in it. You're like, all right, we got some yards on that last drive. You're down 10. Defense, it's stop, and offense, it's a score, and you're in the football game. You're in it, all right? So this is 2nd and 8. I'm okay with this. Good rally to the football. All right, perfect. They use motion. They kind of scheme this up really nicely. Good completion to Mechie up the sidelines, and Greg chases him down. Okay, this is really good. Taki adds on to this blitz. This is amazing by C.J. Stroud. I'm not sure. I didn't watch ESPN or anything, but I'm sure that Orlovsky talked about this, because this is, hey, knowing exactly where your hot is and knowing where the uncovered guy is, because Browns add on and Taki almost gets home. But CJ, this is like veteran football where he just floats the thing up to his tight end, or it was wide receiver, but just amazing understanding, recognition, and just knowing, this is football IQ a million,
Yeah.
Just really good. And that sets up 3rd and short. Okay. When you play man coverage, a lot of coaches, you'll see this a lot in college. Ohio State runs the heck out of this play, where it's just some kind of like a mix up here of crossers, and guys are just running across the field, and you just try to get the defenders to run into each other. We've seen it a bunch, but you see everyone just kind of going across the field. They're trying to pick MJ Emerson. Look at how Nico Collins is going to run like this. Well, JOK is also smart and knows this, where he stops his route. Like, if JOK is not here, like, this is a catch and run up the sidelines, but this is almost a pick six. Like, he's right there and sees it and is right on it. Boom, makes a huge play. And now you're like, this is exactly what Cleveland needed. They come out, they try to throw it a bunch. We D it up, play really good. Then you get a stop on 3rd and short on a play in a concept that should be a winner. You're like, all right, now the Browns are rolling. They're rolling. Here we go. Great play by JOK. He's been awesome. All right, here we go. Big drive here. Okay, you're down 10. Good start to the drive. I love this. Don't have to force it. Again, Spencer, they're not letting us get beat deep. Look at them. Look at them. We got 4 guys 25 yards away from the football. So Flacco checks it down. David Bell, don't know what his future is. Thought he was great. 8 catches on Sunday, 56 yards. There's one big one coming up here in a couple clips. But a good start to the drive.
Bell is still under contract for what it's worth.
Good. Perfect. Love it. Bring him back. I think he's been really good.
Still on his rookie deal.
Still on his rookie deal. All right. So this one where you start on Cooper, they got 2 guys on him. Flacco's off of it before Cooper is 3 yards down the field. He takes his first drop and he goes 1-2. Like, I'm already off of it now. Boom, right to Njoku. Perfect. First down. Love it. This is a great start. But what did I say earlier? When you play this type of defense, Spencer, where you force them to complete passes, force them to dink and dunk, we're just waiting on Joe Flacco, right? They're not allowing the big play. Make him string 10 plays together. So they're doing it. Moving the football. Coop, again, on a curl route. He's awesome on curl routes. He gets up, shuts it down. Boom. Flacco right on time, on target. Now we're going. This is really good. Okay, so what happened was in this sequence, we got a holding call, so we got backed up. Okay, so we're second down. Okay, here's the line of scrimmage, and here is the first down. 2nd and 15. Okay, David Bell, I just said there's a great clip coming up. Here it is. He works off this Mike linebacker. He's right where my cursor is. He works off this Mike linebacker and finds a hole, and Flacco is on time, doesn't hesitate at all. And David Bell, I mean, this is big boy. This is a big boy catch, jumping in the middle of the field, catches the ball, gets a first down. Okay, it's 1st and 10 on the 34-yard line. 1st and 10 on the 34. You're in scoring range. You know, maybe you needed 10 more yards to feel comfortable about a field goal. You're in scoring range. Okay. James Hudson. Let's start this play here. James Hudson, not even a chance. All right. In your mind right now, as your quarterback, it's like check down. Like, I feel this. I don't know if he saw this, but he definitely talked about how he felt it and he was trying to throw it away. Spence, how many times has David Njoku caught a ball like this for one at the line of scrimmage and turned it into a 10-yard gain, an 8-yard gain, a 30-yard gain? You know, you don't know what the result is here, but at least you know with 85 having the ball in his hands, like, you got a chance. Instead, Joe tries to throw it away. Oh, man. It's just, man, that was like the scenario too, dude. The scenario, 1st and 10 on the 34-yard line.
Like, and it becomes a pick six. Yeah, I on one hand, I mean, the interceptions are part of Flacco's game. I don't put this one on him. He admitted afterwards he was trying to throw it away, just didn't get it there. But again, it's another instance where the injuries caught up with you, especially on the offensive line, and they force you into a mistake.
What if that's just Jack Conklin? You know, no. What if it's just Jack Conklin? You know,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or DeJuan Jones. Jones.
What if it's DeJuan Jones, man? What if that's just DeJuan Jones and he's just a wall? And it's like, all right, we don't throw it. Maybe, you know, you're holding up. Elijah's got a double move on. Maybe he shakes him. Maybe he probably doesn't. All right, check it down. Give it to Njoku in space. Something, anything other than that. Oh, man.
It looked like Njoku, like, jumped, too. Like, he almost thought the ball was supposed to come to him.
Yeah.
Because if you see, like, watch him. He sort of turns around.
Yeah, he's like,
he's like on one foot. Like, he's like, oh. And then he realizes, like, oh, that's not to me.
It's and like, then, and it's also too like Njoku seeing this too, and he's like, dude, just give it to me. Like, give me the ball. Like, throw it to me.
He's the top yak for tight ends in the league. Like, you'd like to give him a chance there, but I understand what Flacco was trying to do. It was an inadvertent mistake.
And it's just so tough. And then let's go here, and so then this is how big this next sequence is. So we're in, you know, just trying to get anything back. Okay. So David Bell, and this is 2nd down. We check it to David Bell, and look how close he is to just getting the first down. All right. Maybe so close to getting it. So that sets up 3rd and short. Okay. We're going to hand this ball to Kareem. Kareem gets this 100 times out of 100, but today he gets stuffed. Okay. So now it's 3rd and 3, and we got to watch it. We have to. Just brutal.
Just not. It was just a quick drop and throw, and the Texans,
dude. And it's like,
in the right
at this point, defense. Spence, right? Like, we're now down 38-14 when we were just down 24-14 driving into the red zone. So we're in the red area. You're going to score, and you feel like this is such a game. Like, this is a game. You go punch that thing in, and then we watched the Steelers do it on Saturday or on Monday afternoon. They kept that thing a game all game long. And at one point they were down 7 with a little bit of time left. You just never know how that goes. And if you just keep this thing a game, and met if they do go score and then force CJ Stroud to have to play again, and then, you know, get another 3 and out and take another touchdown, then you have the lead, you know. It's like, man, just so close. You're so close to being there, you know, and instead you go back-to-back pick sixes, and then they get the ball. CJ just really smooth, the Nico Collins. Then DeAnthony Bell actually has a really good tackle here. I'm showing this kind of guy. I was obviously when I was making this, I texted you at this point, like, can we just stop it after?
There wasn't much to see after that.
Really good by D'Anthony Bell. But the only reason I show this is because this goes to the stubborn thing. It's like, we haven't played good all game. We're getting beaten man coverage. This was exactly the same look we had last time. It was man, and we got PI, right? This is just straight man-to-man coverage. And Robert Woods versus Greg Newsome, and it's just so easy. Like, watch this. Just one step, slant, boom, catch, 12-yard gain. It's just like, man. And then here we go, 20-yard run to end it, really put the nail in the coffin. Texans 45, Browns 14. Last play of Flacco. The lasting memory of him. This is pretty cool, actually. This was one that just late in the game's over. But, he's a grinder.
And I think this was the point in the game where I was trying to get my son down to bed. So
I don't even remember these plays.
I don't remember that play other than when I did my rewatch of it. So
Jackson was crying. Your son was crying. And you were like, all right, yeah, you were crying too. You were both crying, wiping both your tears away.
Well, no, like at the end of the day, man, like I enjoy doing this stuff with you, and it's a tough watching it back, but also I think a little therapeutic. I think the frustrating part about it is you see some moments where things could have obviously gone differently, and they didn't. But in some ways, that's the beauty of football, right? Like a couple moments, a couple missed plays or missed tackles or whatever here or there, that game maybe goes differently. Mm-hmm. It was mind blowing to see a team that all year defense was their bread and butter, and they just laid an egg. I keep going back to the Stefanski quote, but they picked the worst day to have their worst day. And I think that's kind of the best way to kind of encapsulate the entire thing. But you do need to give credit. I mean, Bobby Slowick was awesome. The stuff he schemed up. He went back and watched those games like the Rams and the Broncos, and he realized there were some things there to exploit, and he did. And CJ Stroud, man, like, you just got to tip your cap to him. Kid is incredible, and he's maybe already a top 10 quarterback in this league, if not already on his way to being a top 10 quarterback in this league. Dude's phenomenal.
I will say out loud so everyone can hear me. I don't know that anyone's coming after me, but I will readjust my quarterback rankings for the playoffs. I had him at like 10, and I had Flacco at 5. Maybe we'll just do a flip-flop with those guys. But
you got to do when the playoffs are over. When the playoffs are over, you got to redo it and see where he's at.
Revisionist history. I love it. No, it was it just frustrated. Like, you can see it on my face, man. It's just like they're in it. That pick six, you take that away, and even if that ball just hits the ground and the Browns kick a field goal, that game now lasts another quarter and a half. And guess what? Joe Flacco's been there, done that. He's won those types of games. He has that experience. You just don't know how that ends. You don't know how it ends if Juan Thornhill picks that playoff on the first drive. All those things. And it's like, the final score was 45-14, 31-point difference. That was not a 31-point difference in game. The Browns did not play good. They played some of their worst football, and they should have been in it coming down to the finish, and they just weren't. It's just frustrating. A bummer of a way to end the season, man, but no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. Well, they have the offseason now to try to get healthy, obviously, for a number of guys. They'll have some big decisions to make. A lot of guys who are not under contract, it will be unrestricted free agents that they're going to have to decide if they're going to retain them, keep around, move on from them. Those are the tough decisions facing Andrew Berry and company, and that all starts getting underway here in the coming weeks and months. And we'll see if the Browns are able to come back. I think I'll say this too, Anthony, like, one of the more frustrating things about this team specifically, and Greg Newsome called it a missed opportunity, right? Getting to the playoffs and falling short. The way this team played, the attitude they had, the next man up mentality that they kind of abided by, it feels a little worse knowing what could have been with this team, and that they did that all year, and it just kind of, they ran out of gas in the playoffs. So you hope that they can kind of replicate that. There's going to be a lot of different things that look new. Deshaun Watson's going to be back in the fold. That's a conversation for another time. But they certainly have a lot of questions and things to address and answer, and they'll see if they can sort of get back into that playoff picture next year with a new look team, and that the culture can also stay the same, because that was a huge part of the season as well.
I'm glad you said that, because if you haven't seen it, anybody who watches this, go see Jeremiah Ushikoromo at the end of his press conference the other day. He just talked about how the culture on this team and this organization now is different. And he goes, that's going to stick with these guys. Everyone's going to go their separate ways right now. They're going to go on the beach somewhere, Cancun. That's the joke, but whatever. But the culture is going to stay within these guys. And, that's the cool part about it. Joel Bitonio, even in his presser that, you were there for, he had a sense of, you could sense some optimism from him. Like, it wasn't like a guy who just finished.
And he's seen it all. I mean, he's been there for a while, 10 years.
And he told, the quote of Sunday was that, he told Nick Chubb that he misses him and he can't wait to block for him again. So it's like, hey, you got the cavalry coming a little bit. The team's going to look a lot different. We're looking for some wide receivers, potentially some other spots, but a bummer of a way to end the year. But man, what a fun season. If this team was 6-11, I wouldn't have been surprised. But the fact that they were 11-6 to end the season and was in the playoffs was a treat, man. What a run that this squad had. It was a fun season.
Certainly a memorable season. Browns fans will not soon forget it, despite the tough ending. They certainly won't soon forget Joe Flacco and the magic that he provided late in the season, and that'll be a memory for years to come. So, as always, Browns fans, we appreciate you guys jumping in with us. This was a lot of fun. This was good stuff, even though it was a disappointing game to break down. You can find more content like this on the Browns Digest YouTube page. And, of course, we implore you to follow along all offseason, just because the season's over doesn't mean we're stopping. There'll be a ton of content over at brownsdigest.com in the months ahead, leading up to next season. It'll be here before you know it, so be sure to keep plugged in over at brownsdigest.com.
What are Browns fans and writers best at? Mock drafts, baby. We got a bunch of them
God.
coming your way.
Don't get me started on the mock drafts. I'm not ready for that. The Browns don't even have a first-round pick, so we have to wait a while. We have to wait till round 2. Anyway, guys, appreciate you watching as always. Stay in tune with all things Cleveland Browns over at brownsdigest.com.